The following intensive care episode is brought to you by the Scarred Elite, our amazing supporters from Sirenicide's Patreon. Patrons like Robert Rogers, Mildred B., Podcast We Listen To, and Desdemona. Join the ranks today. Find out more at sirenicide.com/donations.
This one's gonna require a little intensive care.
All right, get my scalpel. Let's see what's inside.
Welcome to another Sirenicide intensive care episode.
All right. What is up, Scarred Ones? I would like to welcome Atticus Jackson to the ICU.
Hello,
Atticus,
hello.
how have you been, man? How's your summer going?
It's hot, man.
I can.
Just a couple of Texas boys learning how hot Texas is what we're doing.
I can definitely sympathize with that. A little bit further into the Gulf armpit, but still Texas. It's humid.
You got more humidity than I do. That's for damn sure. But, oh my god, it's annoyingly hot. That's what it is.
Well, fans of the podcast, this is Sirenicide intensive care episode number 15. Interesting, with Atticus Jackson. And I changed the name up. I think it's something different on your script there, Atticus, or on your outline.
A meeting with the good doctor.
That's awesome. Oh, man. That's like when we do our table reads. That is my favorite. Like every time we do the table reads for the script, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be Atticus. I'll be like, Malik, why do you think that's interesting?
I like it. It just sounds so doctorly.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. So before we go in too deep, I always like to remind people at the top of the show, because sometimes people don't make it all the way to the end. Where can people find your work? Just give them all your, I know you do streaming, you're a big part of the No Sleep podcast. Just tell everyone where they can find you so they can write it down while they're driving.
Okay, sure. That's dangerous. Let's do it. Yeah, mostly on the No Sleep podcast. I'm on there a lot, and I'm also on the Death of Dr. John Parker, seasons 1, and I believe I'm in season 2. I hope so. I'm also on this weird podcast called Sirenicide.
Yeah,
probably don't listen to it.
Yeah,
I know I don't.
Don't.
And well, really, I mean, you could just find me on Twitter mostly at the Atticus, and then everything else, like any other social media, I'm just Atticus Jackson. I'm on Facebook. I don't really use it that much. Just a couple of I'll pop into the No Sleep fan group every now and then just to leave a comment or see what's going on. But I don't really like Facebook, so I usually just stick to Twitter.
Nice. Yeah, a little less. Well, I would say garbagey, but it can get pretty garbagey there too. But at least they're limited on how much garbage they can spit out at once.
That's true.
Facebook, there's no limit to the landfill. All right. Well, I'll throw some links down at the bottom of the show, guys, so you don't really got to write it down while you're driving. I'll link his Twitter, and I think you have a No Sleep landing page and some other stuff that we'll throw down there where you guys can find out all of Mr. Jackson's happenings across the interwebs.
There's also we don't run it, and we didn't create it. Some fan did, I guess. But there's if you type in No Sleep podcast wiki, someone made us a fan base wiki account, and it's really detailed. And it's really good.
Nice.
So if you want, you can search Atticus Jackson on there, and it'll list every single episode I've been in, whether I've done main narrations or side narrations, or it's really detailed. I commend whoever did that for us.
Cool. Definitely. We'll check that out. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do here is remind everybody that there's a post-interview giveaway at the end of this. So if you're part of our Patreon, which is only $1 to subscribe to that, we're going to be giving away I believe we're doing a journal. It's a hardbound journal with lined paper through it, and it's going to, have Sirenicide or the Cityscape or whatever you choose. That's the beauty of it. If you go to our Sirena store from sirenicide.com, you can click out of the 6 pieces of artwork that we have on there. You can choose whichever one you want, and it'll be a nice black hardbound, not leather bound. No animals died in the creation of the journal, so you're good there. But yeah, not yet. But they are really nice. I use them constantly, jotting down outline notes for episodes when I'm writing and things like that, just because they look really cool. And then somebody opens it up and they're like, ugh. I'm like, yes, that's my handwriting. It's a doctor's handwriting. So we're going to be giving that away. I think those guys roll for around $25 on our stores. So that's a really good giveaway. Each week that we go in, we're going to either be giving away, as we get deeper and deeper and closer to season 4's release, we're going to be giving away nicer stuff. And if not, a combination of things. So it's a really good time. If you haven't taken the plunge yet to jump on to the Cybernicide Patreon for just $1, you got a big chance of winning a giveaway. Because right now I think we're up to 39. We've gained a couple since we started these, so it's a hell of a lot better chances than the lottery or being struck by lightning. Which, yeah,
both are fun.
Yeah. You know, the once you start looking up the mortality rate of lottery winners, you probably might as well just get struck by lightning.
You're not wrong. I've read some terrible things.
So it's probably just good just to win the journal. I think you'll at least see your 60s if you win the Cybernicide journal. So
you have convinced me to become a patron.
All right. You know, actually bringing that up, I was going through today, checking, like, I'm so bad about getting on there and checking our messages that will like build up, because a lot of the people that are on our Patreon they're not Facebookers or any of that kind of stuff either. And I have all the emails set up, and I went through and I saw your page, and I was like, oh man, because I'm trying to, like, everybody that, like John from Creepy, anybody that's like involved with the production of Cybernicide that's either done acting for us or they do, like Brandon Boone, I'm part of his, like, just to, give back. I mean, I know Brandon's never been on the show, but when we did our live show with them in Houston, he was like really helpful on helping us, be comfortable and know what we were doing when we walked into all of that. So that was the least I could do for him. And he's just such a
very
cool guy.
Solid dude.
Yeah. So I'm trying to, like Pokemon, trying to catch them all. I'm trying to see. I saw Jessica didn't have one. I'm gonna have to reach out and be like, you just have to start one just so I can throw $1 your way each month or something. But anyway, yeah, that's enough about Patreon. So we're gonna be moving into the Cybernicide news. We'll be right back.
47 Action News is closed caption for the hearing impaired. You're watching Channel 47 KZTM TV, Morriston, #1 in Texas.
Okay, we are back with the Sirena news. So not lots to discuss, even though this is going to be coming out, I think, on the 30th or something like that. That's when you should be hearing this. We're actually recording it a few days before that, but we just released the episode with Amy Boland, the voice of Molly Needles, this chick that lives in my house and bared my offspring, and I still don't know why. But anyway, so that's out right now live if you want to listen to that. But as far as things that have changed since that last recording a few nights ago, we have already set up to have a lot of new merch coming to the Sirena store for the Season 4 launch, including the Season 4 artwork, which is live on the donations page only for the public right now, but it's all over the Patreon. So if you go to donations, you don't have to donate anything. You can just scroll to the bottom and look at the artwork and go, ha, I saw it for free. Got them. Or you can, donate $1 while you're there. But that artwork there, we're actually going to be putting that on a few different shirts. The way it's actually designed, I think it'll be looking really cool on a white t-shirt because it's a white piece of artwork. So I'm hoping it'll fade into it pretty well, but we'll see. As well as about 3 or 4 other pieces that I can't even really disclose any of. Some of them are going to be released throughout Season 4 because they might contain spoilers if we release them before the launch or during the beginning of the launch. So just keep an eye out for that. Yeah. And then just a reminder that the Season 4 trailer is coming in July, and it is not going to contain the Season 4 theme. So historically, the theme song that plays in Season 1, 2, well, not really 1, but definitely Season 2 and Season 3, the music behind the trailer music happened to be just an extended version of the theme song that had been modified. This year, we're not doing that. We completely revamped the Season 4 theme song, and I have it finished already. And I made sure that it shares some elements and some instruments, but the the movements, the actual music itself is different. So that way the trailer is its own little animal and should be a lot funner to pet and more exciting and not be like, that looks like the same goat we saw last time we were here. But other than that, we're going to dive right into the intensive care exclusive interview with our buddy Atticus here. Uncut, unedited for the most part. And if you guys aren't familiar with the ICE episode, I do this little reminder, and it's going to get faster and faster as these go through. But the ams, the ums, the well, you know, all that kind of stuff, those all stay in. So I'm sorry if the slobber and the teeth clicks and things like that and the heavy breathing bother you. We'll try to minimize it, but we don't want to do any jump cuts. This is just a conversation between two friends, and we're going to go into it. I'm going to start off with a short, quick bio. Just if you're wondering who Atticus Jackson is when it pertains to Sirenicide, he's played, I think, about one person in our show, so we had him come on. He's most notable. I think he was I want to say he was like somebody on the back of one of the streets, like, hey, and I think that's all he's done.
I just coughed very loudly for you.
I can't even do. I did that joke with my wife. You were gonna get so sick of that joke, but I can't even really do that with yours. At least she had like a very minuscule role as a 911 operator. I've never casted you as anything that's just like waiter number 6 or guy on the street. So, but I'm sure most of the interwebs know you as the great good guy of our show, Dr. Lane Laughlin, and we'll go into a lot more of that later.
As I like to call him, TV scientist.
Yeah, I made sure that when we broke it out, the list of the characters, like, oh, we gotta label him as the TV scientist because back then no one knew his name yet.
Yeah.
So, Uncle Keller was, I believe, your first role in the show, which was really, actually, you were technically in ME7, which came out, even though I think it was, I want to say they were recorded around the same time, but we're not here to get technical. We're not trying to jump into the midi-chlorians of it, but Uncle Keller was in season 2, and that was a really, really cool mini episode, or a self-contained story. It doesn't connect to any of the lore of Sirenicide and all that as much. It's just it's a really shitty uncle.
Yeah, he was crazy. I like playing crazy.
Yeah, man. It was, I think in that trailer for season 2, I loved it because when we were introducing, like coming in the season, Atticus Jackson, and I always hear that, you have no idea why I did it. She deserved every last bit of it. I was like, man, this guy is so good.
Yeah, it's fun.
We were we botched that a little bit. Like Keller was going to be his was going to be his last name, like his last name, and then we realized how the script went, because we're still trying to get our bearings in the early part of season 2, and we realized that we had to give him an actual last name because Joe, who plays Matthew Finnis, was going through and saying Miss Keller or something like that. We went through in the table read and we're like, oh crap. So we named him Keller Parson, and like his nephew's Frankie Parson. And that was kind of funny because we're like, oh, Uncle Keller is a killer, so he's a killer person. So we made a little joke out of Keller Parson. And then the son, or the nephew, is really, really like just blunt because it was my son's first time really voice acting. I think he was 8 or 9 at the time, and he's like, "Oh, Uncle Keller." He's just like frank and just to the point. So it's like, "Oh, we'll name him Frankie. That'll be Frank. He's a Frank Parson." Just little things that most people wouldn't notice that we were just goofing off behind the scenes with.
Oh, I like that. That's good. I love behind the scenes stuff.
So one of I guess technically your first debut in mini episode 7 was Right Next to You. And that one was really cool because you played this guy, Derrick, and it was, again, if you haven't noticed yet or heard the other ICE episodes, we do spoilers in these episodes from season 1 all the way up to mini episode 38, which is the last mini episode we've released before season 4. So right now, internet or podcast universe out there listening, if you're not wanting to be spoiled any deeper in Sirenicide, definitely, pause this, come back once you're caught up, because we're going to be throughout our questions and having fun. We're going to probably spoil a few things for the story of Sirenicide. So if you're not wanting that, back out now, except for you, Atticus, you got to stay here. I'm sorry.
Damn it. Like, all right, man. I'll be right back, I guess. Please.
But we'll try to keep it. We'll try to keep it minor. But Derrick and his friend were trying to harvest some organs, but they didn't know how they were going to go about doing it. And one of them they had both been worked on by Sirenicide and woke up with the scars. And they contacted a guy from our fictional Boston called Broxton, and that guy was actually voiced by Jeff Clement. So I'm pretty sure you're familiar with Jeff. Yeah. And it was the mini episode 7 was for a long time the only episode that wasn't written in-house by us. It was actually written by Victor King, who wrote the good Thomas Shay for No Sleep. Of course, I'm a huge No Sleep fan. I still need to get caught up on the last few seasons, but before I was doing any of this, I would pine for Saturday to get my season pass, that kind of thing. And in the very early days, before I was affording a season pass, because I'm not one of these people who try to walk in saying I'm original No Sleeper, because I'm not. I joined around, I think, early season 5-ish. So right when the season pass thing had only been out for a year and a half.
Yeah.
But then I went, like most No Sleep addicts, I went back and just backlogged and listened to everything going backwards. Once I was caught up, then I started going forwards again. And then once I ran out of that, I went back and just binged the season passes and bought them. But that story, and I won't spoil it. If you haven't heard it, go check out the good Thomas Shay. Jessica McAvoy's in there. There's I can't remember all the cast. I know that Corinne Sanders is in there, but it's an amazing story, and it's not really the horror story in the sense of ghosts and ghouls or gore or supernatural happenings. It's a very Victor. I think he's only written 1 or 2 stories for No Sleep, but it was one of those ones that really stood out. I think it won No Sleep Story of the Year for 2015. It was during the No Sleep Holiday Special. And I want to say, if I've played it so many times, I believe it's either episode, I think it's 20, right after, it's the holiday special one. I can't remember the exact episode number, but I want to say it's the second story on the free episode. But anyway, I'll throw a link to it in the show notes. That way I ain't going to waste your guys' time too much.
I'd like to listen to that.
Yeah, it was one of those ones that when someone goes, well, what's No Sleep? I'd be like, listen to this. And okay, where do I get more of stuff like this? It's just that one. And I said, man, if I ever had a podcast, I would love to have Victor King write a story, because as a writer, I get really, overprotective of my lore and the characters, and I'm so scared to. But I said at that point we'd had season 1 was out where you could binge it. I was like, hey, if you could just binge through season 1, it's only 8 episodes. They're really short, and if you could just write a mini episode. And he was so cool about all of it. And he's kind of like yourself. I think he's only on Twitter. He's not, I don't think he has a presence anywhere else. And we tagged him in it and he shared it. And it's just, it's a really cool mini episode. So mini episode 7, Right Next to You. Atticus plays Derrick in that. And we spent a lot more time on that than I thought I would. So sorry about the side tangent, guys. I promise we're going to get to the questions. And then Doug Oggie in mini episode 12. Poor guy found a tape in his hotel room and then met up with a certain Eddie at the very end of the episode. And we'll just leave it at that for you guys if you haven't heard mini episode 12.
Everything turned out fine.
Yeah, it was
just
good.
Like most of Sirenicide.
What I love about that guy is his name is Doug Oggie, and the name of the episode is Doogie. If you take the UG. Yeah.
I see what you're doing now.
Yeah, so he said creature of the episode was named Doogie, and Doogie is part of the Sirenicide lore. Everybody knows that's Eddie's little mutated pet that he found in a super fun site. Not super fun, let's go to the park, but super fun, the government's got to clean this crap up because oops. So, but yeah, Doug Oggie pointed him in the direction of this thing, and now we got Doogie. So Doug Oggie lives on, just probably not in the way he thought. And before we go much further, I feel like I want to skip over Drew Davison from the Try the Soup episode. That was really cool. You were able to, I guess, pitch yourself down naturally to like a kid. You know, help my dad, Mr. Finnis. It was really good work. So
sometimes kids just gotta have all the fun.
Yeah. Well, it was really cool because even like right there, you went pretty young. This guy, like, we're like, oh no, he's like an adolescent. Because I think originally you sent us a few different takes. One was like that. And then it's like, how can this guy go, well, this is my 12-year-old voice. This is my 8-year-old voice. This is my 17-year-old voice. This is my 41 smoker voice. So we were so blown away by that. But yeah, that was Drew Davison, and that's another self-contained story. Try the Soup. It doesn't affect really in the long run. We reference the episode and as the lore progresses, but as a story as a whole, you can press play on season 2, episode 10 if you want to hear Atticus play Drew. That's the one and only time that character appears in the story. So now we drop down.
Recognize me, all for the better.
Oh yeah, there we go. There's no better compliment than that. I get people all the time going, man, you did a really good job playing this guy in y'all show. I'm like, that's not me, but
yeah,
thank you. Or
I
like,
get that so much.
Yeah,
especially during the No Sleep podcast. They're like, I loved you in that story, and I'm like, thank you. I wasn't in that story, but I'm sure they did a great job.
We were watching. We just started Chernobyl on HBO, and it's been really, really good. But there's like this scientist. When the camera pans on him, and he looks just like Adam Driver, like identical. So of course I did the normal thing. Sat on the couch, I pulled my phone open and went to Google. Or at first I went to IMDb, and it's like it says he's not in it. So I went to Google and I just typed in "is Adam" and it said Driver in Chernobyl. It just like filled it in. I was like, how many people have searched for it? And it's not him. I was like, man, that poor guy. Because even when you go to his IMDb, he doesn't really even look like it that much in that, but the way they have his hair pulled back and I guess his nose, his ears, and his cheek line, he looks just like Adam Driver's like, oh my God, Kylo Ren's in Chernobyl. This is awesome. Nope, not him.
He's so versatile.
Oh, man. But the two heavy hitters for our show, well, I mean, first we have TV Scientist, which isn't really a heavy hitter because it turns out, spoiler alert, that was Dr. Laughlin. TV Scientist was talking about the Laughlin Institute, and it just turned out that was the guy leading it. That is
2 years in the making. Like,
yeah, man. It was well, I'm gonna go a little deeper at the end of the episode in the Dr. Laughlin, but I don't want to skip over Keith Reiben. So one of our most popular mini episodes is our first dive into the werewolf lore of the Morstan universe here for Siren Aside, and that's Little Wolf Moon, and that's when you recorded with the great Addison Peacock. So two amazing A's from the No Sleep show shared that one, and it's a story basically about a girl being tempted by a local werewolf in his human form, like going to church and recruiting people. And we don't really hear any of that part. It's a one scene story. That's the one we joke a lot about, because that one we actually had to find a time and a place where we could fire a shotgun because he unloads a round into the air when he's looking for her. Like, come on out, I know you're here. So that was really fun creating that Foley art for the show. So that one's near and dear to my heart for that, not just the writing of it, but Little Wolf Moon is the first entry in the Wolf Moon trilogy for Siren Aside. We have Little Wolf Moon, Lady Wolf Moon, and coming post season 4. Here's something for you guys that we haven't told anybody yet. Last Wolf Moon will be a mini episode that airs after season 4. So it'll be the first of our anthology releases, which we're going to be talking more about as the news goes on throughout these interview episodes. So you'll be able to, sew all the news together from all of these episodes and be like, oh, nice. They could have just done this in one episode. But so Keith Reiben, man, you nailed the accent. I mean, that takes place in the 1930s, and it just, when I was writing it, I was doing my best to try to, ain't no wolf, and you just killed it, man. And what I love about, I promise I'm not going to sit here and stroke you all night, but what I love about your characters is they don't feel like the same guy doing a bunch of different voices. Like I'm right now, I'm finishing up the 9th time, I believe it's 9th or 11th time I've listened to the show, because writing it, even though I got all these logs and Excel files, I need to constantly hear the show to keep immersed into the universe that, I just help create, but that I got to write in. And every time I go through, I'm like, God, how does he do this? Like, I mean, if you said Uncle Keller, Dr. Laughlin, Drew, Derrick, Doug, Oggie, Keith, and all of them on the table together, I swear you could just like go around the table and it'd sound like 7 different or 8 different people talking to each other. It's pretty cool, man.
You know what? Audiobooks. I'm telling you, do audiobooks, and you get used to having to change voices real quick.
Nice. So how you've done a couple of them?
I'm in the process of doing number 4.
Wow. I can't imagine, man, like the amount of work that's got to take. I mean,
it's more than I thought it would. And I signed up for my first ever audiobook, my foray into doing audiobooks, because I guess I'm just a go-getter. The first thing I ever did was I signed up for a 4-book deal, and that's a terrible idea. It takes so long. I've been working on this series for like over 2 years, and oh my gosh, it's been a great experience. I've learned so much about doing audiobooks. I've learned so much about editing them, especially with the help of other people who've done audiobooks. Jessica's really helped me out.
Yeah, she's good.
Especially as far as like money goes. I remember one of the first things I asked her was, should I take like the pay per finished hour, or should I just go strictly on royalties? And she told me how much she made for royalties on one of her books, and I was like, it's not very good.
That book didn't sell, apparently.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like with Audible, they can put the book on sale anytime they want. Like if it's listed as $29.99, they can drop that down to $5.99 anytime they want and not even let you know. And so if someone buys it, the royalty cut that I would get is not from the $29.99, it's from the $5.99.
Oh man. Well, man, it's just Amazon's world, and we're living in it.
Oh man, that's the truth. But yeah, by doing all those, like especially the type of series that I was doing, it's I guess it's like a young adult novel thing, but it's got
are any of them released?
Main characters. Yeah, they're the shitty part about this deal was that it's a 4 books series, right. And the first book was already done in an audiobook format by this guy. He agreed to do the 4 books. He couldn't complete books 2, 3, and 4. So he had to back out of it. So the author came up to me, heard my little like demo reel thing, and she said, look, I've got these 4 books. The first one's already done. It's going to be a while before like the contract is up and all this back and forth and legal red tape and whatnot to get the first book taken down. She said, do you want to just go ahead and start on books 2, 3, and 4? I was like, sure. Yeah, I'll do that for whatever amount of money. And so I did book 2 first, then book 3, then book 4. And now I'm working on book 1.
Oh, so if somebody right now they could do it, but they start on 2 kind of thing. Cause one's not, or is one still got the original narrator?
One, right now, as far as an audiobook goes, you can buy all the books, just regular.
Right.
But as far as audiobooks goes, 1 doesn't even exist anymore. They took it down because the guy said, yeah, go ahead and take it down. Like, I'm not making any money off of it anyway, and I can't do the other ones. So you can buy book 2, book 3, and book 4. You just go to like audible.com and search Atticus Jackson and find it.
Cool. Yeah. Just shoot us your Audible profile link, or shoot it to me later, and I'll pop it in the show notes too, where people can follow you.
Oh yeah, definitely. And yeah, and so I'm still working on book 1 right now. And it's really weird for me because I already know the ending of everything, and now I'm learning the beginning of everything. So it's kind of weird. But the book has like 10 main characters, And a lot of them are men, a lot of them are women, so they have conversations with each other. So you just got to learn to, how do I make, this father figure talk to the son and have them sound different enough to where people are not, not, their immersion isn't completely broken from just, okay, I'm just listening to this one guy talk to these, it's the one guy, he's just doing some voices. Just try to stray away from that.
Wow. That's intense. I mean, I've been obviously listening to podcasts for years, but before I got back into my podcast immersing myself into it, I got tired of listening to music every day in my day job over and over. So I went into audiobooks, and I ended up burning through all because my hands are busy, my eyes are busy, but my ears are just sitting there listening to the showroom floors music or whatever I'm listening to in my headphones. I was like, man, I got to do something. I love music to death. I create music, but I am music out. So I got World War Z on Audible because it was free or whatever. It was a promotion in 2011 or 12 or whenever it was. And each chapter of that book is done by a different voice actor or a different narrator, which was really cool. But it was a really dumb idea for me because I'm like, man, audiobooks are awesome, man. This is really freaking cool. Each time Max Brooks sits down, because I think he did the narrator or the journalist for that book. But each time he sat down with somebody, I think Mark Hamill's in it and a few other people are. And it's a really, really cool audiobook, man. I mean, I'd already read the book years ago, but I'd never heard the audiobook. And I was like, oh, you got to listen to the audiobook. It's so good. And I was like, man, I haven't done audiobook since I was a kid, books on tape, kind of fifth grade thing. Exactly. So I was really hesitant on it, and I got that one, and it was the gateway drug for audiobooks. And then the next one I downloaded, I don't want to name drop somebody their book's bad, because I really, really enjoyed the book, but I got the Girl with All the Gifts, and that's a really, really good book. It's a really good movie too. Glenn Close is in, I think, but it's a zombie book, zombie movie, and that's where I'll leave it at. But it's a whole different look on it. It's cordyceps and funguses. It's a really cool zombie. If you're wanting something different, something kind of like Last of Us, but this obviously predates that. This before that game was out. It's kind of got that style of zombie, more of a fungal zombie than but it's really, really good. But
I love that because it's in the back of your mind, you're always oh, this could happen.
Yes, exactly. These cordyceps and stuff this is so much more legit.
This is a real thing.
Because you've seen the ants that can do that kind of thing. Oh man, then they reference that kind of stuff in the book. But that was my second audiobook, I want to say, and that was my first time really hearing somebody, well, Miss Janastanu, we need this and this. Well, I know, but she's under this control. I'm like, oh my God. This is different. So it took me a little bit to adjust to it. And then I did. And I just started snowballing through all the Star Wars books I read as a kid, Heir to the Empire and all that kind of stuff through the audiobook form. And I was like, man, this is awesome. And then I got onto the audio drama form, from podcasts. I think No Sleep was my first audio drama. And I was like, oh, wow, this is cool. People are talking to each other. This is kind of like World War Z. Oh, wow, there's sound effects. Man.
Yeah.
And
it's
I knew
a whole different world.
It is, man. It's a movie for your ears. I tell people that all the time. It's not an audiobook. I mean, an audiobook is somebody talking to you the whole time. I mean, there's a lot of stories on, anthology podcasts that do have a narrative format, but there's some that have a drama format. And then there's some where it's narrative, but they break for the conversation. And it's a really cool medium. And the Star Wars novels I get really into because, when someone ignites a lightsaber in it, you hear the tsh. So they got Foley all through the Star Wars novels, and they got John Williams music all through the Star Wars novels. But when a guy and a chick are sitting talking, it's still the narrator being a girl, being a kid. Yeah. And sometimes they're really good, like yourself. And sometimes they're just oh, that's not a kid. I know they just told me it's a kid. That's not a kid.
I actually recently had a conversation with a coworker, and she was telling me how, she knows I do audiobooks, and she thinks it's really cool, but the first audiobook she got, I don't remember the name of the actual book, but it was one of her favorite books. She's read it a million times, but now she just wants to listen to it when she's driving to work or whatnot.
Right.
And she says that the narrator is just awful and that she can't stand it. So she's like, I'm not listening to it because it doesn't do it for me at all. And I'm like, yeah, I hope people don't think that about me.
Well, yeah.
Because that can happen.
But the cool thing is you starting with like no sleep and stuff. I mean, you get things that say, you got to yell at this person, or you got, or you got to be, you have to act. A narrator doesn't necessarily have to act as much. You just got to follow the prompts. It's like, I don't know if we're going to make it, he said, sweating profusely as he put the wires together. I mean, it's not as engaged versus, I don't know if we're going to make it, I mean,
yeah, it's one of those things about voice acting where it's acting first,
right?
And the voice comes later. Like, you have to know how to act to even narrate. Like, you didn't. That's why, man, I have such a big problem with, like, there's so many people on YouTube, that are just like, they pick a no sleep story and then they just read it
monotonely.
Like,
yeah,
just read it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're just reading off a piece of paper or reading off their computer. I'm just like, oh, what are you like? You're
butchering the story.
It must look bad when you say like that's voice acting. That's not voice acting. That's just, I guess it's narrating.
That's
but
a voice.
Reading.
It's a voice recording. Yeah, there's
like,
a difference between a drummer and a percussionist. Someone who has a guitar and plays it, and someone who is a guitarist.
Yes. It's such a, like, I understand that what you want to do, and I'm all for you wanting to do that because I love voice actors.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, learn the craft. Try to learn the craft.
Yeah, man.
It's more like something like, because I don't want to like shame people into never doing it again or anything, but it's like, learn it and then do it for yourself, do it for your friends, but don't put it out into like a public forum and say like, this is my perfected masterpiece, because it's not, and
exactly.
People are gonna know it's not.
Yep.
And it's like, if you want to get better at what you're trying to do, just keep doing it, keep practicing.
Yep.
And you'll eventually get to a place where you want to release something. And I'm saying that because if I go back and look at my old YouTube videos where I decided to try and become a no sleep narrator, that shit was awful. Like,
right.
I was not great, because I didn't know what I was doing. I tried, and then the more I did it, the better I got. And then David he gave me a chance. Even the first story I did for No Sleep, he sent it back to me, and he wrote me an email and said, like, this is all the stuff that's not good about your recording.
Awesome.
And it was Canadian, so it was very nicely worded, but and he was completely 100% right. Like, I told him I could do this thing, and I could act and all this stuff, and my pacing was off. Like, I tried to start the story off really scary when it was just like, these guys are walking in the woods, and I'm like, as soon as we entered the woods, the sticks beneath, like, there was no setup or anything. I was just immediately trying to make it scary. It was not great.
That's awesome.
And he's like, your room's really echoey. And I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of just in the middle of it with my Yeti. So
I'm trying, man.
I took a day. I went into my closet. I put like padding up. I stapled a towel to the wall. I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
That's
but
awesome.
I soundproofed my closet basically, and then I re-recorded it, took all of his advice, sent it to him, and he was just like, yeah, that's perfect.
Nice. And that's so much better than him being like, yeah, we're not going to do that, or here, try this. But to have somebody give you critique and criticism, and then you take it, you fix it, and then like, yeah, that's perfect. That'll work. That's like, oh, cool. Yeah. Hard work pays off. Nice.
No, even because I took a day where I was just like, oh crap, like I'm weighing over my head. And like the dude from the No Sleep podcast just told me I sucked. Which he didn't, but yeah, he sent me an email like later that day. He was like, are you okay? Because like I didn't mean to like offend you or anything. These are the things that you could do better. And I'm like, man, I got this. I'm not gonna let you down. And I tried my best.
You did, and I can completely sympathize. I mean, people have heard me say on these ICE episodes and stuff before and on live streams that it takes every ounce of my well-being to not go back and like George Lucas the shit out of my first season, because we recorded in the blanket for it, and I was just learning how to voice act. That's actually going like on like Mike Delgadio's pages and stuff like that, where you can as much as you find like YouTube people just narrating stories badly, you'll find YouTube people teaching you how to voice act just as badly. So I went and like found some actual people. I talked to a lot of friends and stuff that I know that have done like theater and things like that, and then audiobooks. I'd already burned through every Song of Ice and Fire novel. At the point when we started our show, I was probably about 20 books into Star Wars narration, and those guys, they don't mess around. I mean, that's Lucasfilm. So, they're awesome. Freaking Jonathan Davis, not the guy from Korn, but there's a Jonathan Davis that does a lot of the narration, and he does such a good job. He's one of my favorite narrators for the Star Wars series. Like, whenever I see a audiobook coming out and his name is on there as a narrator, I just get giddy, which is awesome. Like, oh my God, this is going to be so good. Even if the story sucks, it's going to be good. But
you'll enjoy listening to it.
And the other thing is, I grew up as a really big Legacy of Kain fan, Soul Reaver and the Blood Omen games and that kind of thing. And that's like Shakespeare for games. And it's just like, just the back and forth between these characters. And I'd sit there and I'd be driving down the road and be like, Raziel, why? Like those kind of things. And my wife's like, what are you doing over there? And I'm just like, I just love the way this is acted. So I just started tapping into that more to try to get better. But I'll listen to season 1 and I'm like, God, especially the first episode, because we didn't really have that many voice actors. We didn't know what we were doing. We were still a full-time band at the time. And the first episode of the first season, I'm this guy, Charles Blackwell, which it's no secret in our show. I killed him off in a mini episode just because I didn't want to do his voice ever again. But we did it the right way. I mean, the story's not written to kill him. He just dies in the story and it works, that kind of thing. Like, we don't like, we
moved away to Pennsylvania.
Yeah, exactly.
And none of us saw him again.
So,
ask.
But yeah, I'll go back and listen to that first season. I'm like, just shaking my head, like, what was I doing? Oh my God. But it's helped me so much because a lot of like people will message us in like, I'm in the end of season 2 and your in-house cast has gotten so much better. And that's the best compliment ever, because most of our negative reviews on the show is for voice acting. And that's because friends, family, like all the mistakes most podcasts make, hey, come over here and help me out with this. But the problem is I didn't have the ability to teach or guide them. But now I'll have people go, that guy that's playing this character, or that girl you had do this, she's really good. What else does she voice act on? I'm like, she doesn't voice act. But they have their headphones on, they're in the booth, and I have a mic in front of me at the station, and I'm literally directing them through the script like a director would an actor. We're looking more for this. How about you go up, like, follow me on this line? And they'll say that. They'll be like, are you sure I did okay? And then they'll hear the final mix of, like, the newer mini episodes, anything from season 3, and they're like, I can't believe it came out that good. I really didn't think I did that good.
It's such a foreign concept to me of actually having a director.
Yeah, it's...
Because I just try to, like, usually I only want to work with productions that I know have solid writing. Because most of the time, if you have solid writing, you can, like, I can act through that.
Right.
Especially, like, that reminded me of, like, Little Wolf Moon.
Right.
The way that was written, it was really, really easy to get into character. Because it's already got all, like, the accent was in the writing. So I just had to, perform that.
Right.
So a lot of the writing with, like, No Sleep is the same way. It's like, if it's written well, the actor should
not have that big of a problem.
Yeah. And then the director should be like, well, okay, give me another take of that, which I get sometimes, just like, okay, can you do this one a little bit differently? But it's always in, like, post-production. Like, I've already sent in my file. It'll be like a couple more days. And then the producer will get back to me and be like, can you record this again? I'm like, crap, I got to go listen to it again to make sure I get the voice right. I've never had, like, on-hand actual directing.
Man, I know we're about 4 hours from each other, but one day we'll have to have you come visit us in Houston or something like that if you're ever down this way, and I'll put a mini episode together and just keep it in the backlog just for the experience, because it's become one of my favorite things to do. Like, I would probably say 60% of the voice actors and season 3 were in-house, and it's probably closer to 75% for season 4. Like, because I've gotten that much more comfortable with doing it, and people go in there like, man, I just, and I've had like, I had a kid, we have an episode out, about an old lady eating a kid, and it's kind of like it's called The Haunted Jawbone, if you guys want to go listen to it, if you haven't heard it yet. It's a standalone episode, and it's just a mini episode, so it's only like 5 minutes long. But basically, one of my friends, he sent his daughter to record another episode, and she just blew it out of the park, took the direction really, really well, wasn't a diva or anything like that. Like, every now and then I'll have a friend or somebody come over in the booth that's just, let me try this, and, I understand where you're going, but I'm going to go this route with it. And then I'll play that back, and it's like, okay, I see why you're saying that won't work, which is fine. But that's typically someone who's very used to acting. But once they kind of open up and see the environment and how we're very good at growing the people once they get in here, that kind of thing. And then they hear the end product, and it's like, okay, I'm glad I listened to that, like what you were talking to do there, because I see now, like, because they can't hear the other person that they're acting with. And we have to make sure that that's cohesive, or it won't work. It'll sound like two different people talking to each other in the same room. And you can't have that in audio drama. But anyway, we'll move on now that we're like 30 something, 40 minutes in. We're going to start moving into the questions, everybody. But this is the kind of conversation I love drumming up just by, talking about the craft, man. It's such a different medium. If you guys are interested, like Atticus said, get out there, find you some local little acting groups. So acting comes first. Join up, some, YMCAs, or, there's plenty of like online groups now. You can do so much of this stuff through like, mediums like not Skype itself, but softwares or coaches that can actually work with you through like YouTube and things like. There's a million different ways to do it these days. So if you're interested in it, there's plenty of low cost and no cost ways out there to learn it. But if you just want to just dive in head first, it's really good. Just grab you some audiobooks, listen to some good audio dramas. Not Sirenicide. No, I'm joking. at least not the first season. Don't mock the first season, or you're gonna come off as completely cheeseball. But and I don't. I mean, obviously,
the thing is, like, if you listen to something and you really like it, feel free to imitate it. Like, you don't have to, record anything or post it anywhere, but try to. If someone is a really good voice actor, you can try to be like them. That's okay.
Yeah.
Eventually, like, you will make your own thing. You will come into your own. But if you're trying to be a really great voice actor, it's not a bad thing to listen to really great voice actors and be like,
exactly,
I want to do that. I want to try to do that.
Somebody told me a long time ago, use the pile theory. And I'm like, what's the pile theory? Look at the person that's got the larger pile of what you want to do, and do that. Don't look at the person that doesn't have anything in their pile. I'm like, okay, that's really good advice. All right. I like that. I want a nice car. I'm going to go follow that guy around. What are you doing? Nothing. Just looking at your car. All right. So the last character on the breakdown for the bio is, of course, Dr. Lane Laughlin himself. Probably one of my favorite characters of the season. And again, after we go through the non-spoilery questions, we'll talk more about him towards the end. So for now, we kind of already went through you've been working through some audiobooks and just doing the audio drama thing. So I'm going to jump right into the exclusive questions and get your MySpace top 8 for podcast. Feel free to promote your own within there.
See, that's always a tough one because I don't really listen to podcasts. Not that I don't like podcasts. I just don't have a whole lot of time these days, and mostly because of the 4-book deal of audiobooks that I've been working on.
Day job, after day job.
Just regular adult life, and then, have the time to do this. I don't have a very long commute to work, so it's usually I just have the radio on. But as far as podcasts, I mean, the No Sleep podcast is great. The production, voice acting, everything's been getting better and better ever since I've been there.
Yeah, for sure.
No, that makes it sound like I'm trying to say it was because of me. That's not what I'm saying.
Nah, that's a happy coincidence. It's because
that I've witnessed. The podcast has been getting better and better, which is awesome. Did you ever listen to Deadly Manners?
I have not. I have a whole
really good
retirement backlog. Like I'm like, oh man, whenever I retire, I got all these video games I'm finally gonna get to play. I have all these TV shows I'll finally get to watch, and I have all these podcasts I'll finally get to listen to when I'm not
That's not a bad idea. I should put one of those together.
I do. I literally, it's not a joke, folks. I have a notes app on my phone, and it's backed up to my iCloud, and I have it copied to a Google Drive too. And it's literally broken down into books, audiobooks, movies, TV shows, video games, and podcasts that I want to listen to, or when I get time. And I rank them, based on how people talk about them. So
I actually think I have something like that. It was for, I don't know, I put it out there on Twitter that I wanted to, actually watch some good horror movies, and people sent me a lot of movies. Nice. So I think I put a list somewhere. Mostly podcasts. Deadly Manners is good. It's not really a podcast, but Critical Role on YouTube and on Twitch. A D&D basically group that is run by voice actors, and everyone who plays is a voice actor, and that's immensely fun to watch and to listen to.
Yeah, you have to send me a link to that. I'll put a link in the notes for you guys too.
Yeah, that's really good. The SCP Archives. Actually, I'm a regular on the SCP Archives now.
Nice. That's the new one from John, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
And yet, I haven't been on Creepy yet, but I think that's more on me than on him. But John is such a great dude as far as the audio drama world is concerned.
Yeah,
he's
John
very
is John is Doc in our series. He's our emperor. He is our dark, shadowy bad guy. He made his debut in our series at the very end of season 2, and it's been voice acting Doc all through season 3. He's done some other ones too. I'm going to actually be interviewing him later this summer too on one of these. He's amazing.
I'll definitely
dude.
listen to that.
Yeah, he's a good guy, man. All right, so let's see. Let's transition into. Let's go into scary movies. Talking about scary movies for right now, not what's on your list, but would you say your favorite scary movie and why?
Favorite scare. Okay, I was about to say Scream, because that's a pretty good classic scary movie for at least my age. Scream was pretty solid, especially being younger and then watching the actual classic horror movies, and then what Scream did for that genre, where it was just the girl. You know what? Just the opening scene. If you didn't know what was going on. Drew Barrymore, huge name at the time.
Mm-hmm.
She's gonna be the main character. She's gonna fight the bad guy. She's gonna win.
Oh,
yeah. So that's a good one. Changed up. But I think my favorite scary horror or scary movie is Event Horizon.
Dude, oh my god, man, that's I guess
it's more like a thriller, but that movie fucked me up when I was young.
That's crazy. I don't want to spoil too much for it because we're planning on doing it later. But the Scary Dad podcast, which is based here in Houston, they interviewed me about a week back now for a Game of Thrones episode, a Star Wars episode, and then we did our favorite bands, and we're going to be reconnecting and doing our favorite horror movies. And I kid you not, it's in my top 3 as Event Horizon. That's awesome.
It's a solid movie. I think it's great to watch, especially real late at night. Oh, that movie's spooky.
Is it the shot with the guy with the eyes out of his head floating?
Of course. And the guy that's on fire, the flames and anti-gravity or whatever, when there's no gravity, the flame blobs just
All right, I need your honest opinion on this now. I have not watched this movie in about 15 years because I'm scared too. I really am, because I don't want to ruin it. It's so perfect in my brain. I've gone back and watched a few things like I brought up on this podcast. I won't tell the story too long because everybody in podcast land's heard it a few times, but like I ruined It for myself by rewatching the original miniseries It as an adult and just completely like ruined it for me. I was like, I thought this was so creepy when I was a kid and it was so funny yet weird. And then I watched it with my wife and I was like, this is awful. This is just garbage.
Oh, see, I don't know how I would react because I've never seen the original It.
Okay, yeah, don't.
I haven't seen the newer one yet, but I've heard great
perfect.
things about the new one.
You put that on your list.
Heard nostalgia stuff about the old one where it's just like Tim Curry's a god.
No, and Tim Curry is It, like literally is It. But I mean, there's a lot of funny stuff. Like now, my favorite things in there is the camp, like the beep beep Georgie, and he's on this party, he's riding a banister and like spinning around this like noisemaker, and it's. As a kid, I was like, "Oh my god, that's a clown!" No, it didn't make me afraid of clowns. Like a lot of people was like ruin their childhood, like literally. And I tell a lot of people are scared of clowns because of that. Like I was like, go back and watch it as an adult. You'll be fine. You're like, oh, this is what scared me as an 8-year-old. Yeah, but don't go watch the new one because then it'll all come back. The new one's done right, man. It's really, really good.
Yeah, I think from the sounds of it, from what I've seen in like the trailers and just movie stills, they just did a really good job casting.
Yeah, totally. All right, so let's plow right ahead and go into your favorite book and why.
Favorite book. One that I really liked and really stuck with me, and I really want to read it again, but I don't even have a copy of it anymore. It's a book called Rant by Chuck Palahniuk. It's called Rant, a Buster Casey story. That's not it.
Huh.
It's the way the book is formatted is just really interesting to me. It just starts off as
interesting
a series of interviews that people had that these people that had interacted with this character Buster Casey, who, as far as like the first stories of the people talking, it sounds like he's recently dead, and they're all just going through. This is what I know. This is how he was, and they're all just telling all their different stories of their accounts of this guy Buster Casey. Okay. And the more you go through the book, the more interviews. You read, you learn the world that they're in and how it starts off. It kind of sounds like it's just regular old, where you are.
Right.
But these are like massively different in this world that they're in. And there's just really cool parts about like time travel and just looping histories and kind of ways to like, go back in time, and if you kill yourself in the past, you absorb your soul and you become greater. It's one of the, like the movie The One. Do you ever see that?
That's is that the one like the the Woo, was that
one of those guys.
One of the Woo guys did that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very much like that where it's.
Man, you gotta read World War Z, dude, if you like that kind of stuff. Like them sitting down and like going through things of like how it was, and then it fades into something totally like starts off very grounded in like our world, but then it fades into something you could never really imagine. Yeah, you're gonna really like World War Z.
Oh man, I need to.
Yeah. But you might as well. Yeah. All right. So I know, obviously. I know this, but podcast world might not, but you're pretty involved with Twitch. I mean, you're like one of the guys I like, no sleep Twitch regulars that I know like Jessica and stuff's doing it now, but you've been on there for a little while, I think.
I tried to start like ages ago before I was even on No Sleep. And I was so bad. I tried to like make a character and he had like just an awful voice, and He's all, I'm going to start playing a game now for you guys, and everybody's going to watch me. And
awesome.
nobody watched, but I played like a bunch of Portal 2 levels, like custom maps, and it would just be that character getting more and more frustrated, but nobody watched it, so I ditched it for like a year, and then I got involved with the No Sleep podcast, and I was like, you know what? There's people who know me now for my voice. Maybe they want to hear more of my voice when in a different setting where I'm not just like part of the No Sleep Stories, like because I started talking to a bunch of people and a bunch of the fans, and like there's a bunch of gamers out there. So I was like, okay, well, I'll play games. I love playing games anyway. I'll stream it. I got the setup. I got the good microphone now, and I will. People can come. I don't have a webcam or anything, so it's just like people come for the voice and the video game play, and just hang out and talk. And that's what I love. I love interacting with fans and just like chatting with them while I'm playing a game.
Yeah, I jumped in on one of them a while back because I don't get a chance to get on Twitch as much as I'd love to. And I think you were playing You Don't Know Jack with I think it was David Cummings and Nicole Goodnight.
Yeah, on every Wednesday night at around 7 p.m. Central, I have the Stream with Friends night. And recently that's been me, my friend Justin, and his lady friend Lula Bells. And then we also have Nicole Goodnight and David Cummings. And ever so often we'll have Jessica and her sister Audrey.
Yeah.
And so we'll whip out like the Jackbox party pack, or we'll do like golf with friends. I mean, it's such a fun time because the insanity of it all, especially having a bunch of voice actors. We do Dream Daddy. We've been doing Dream Daddy recently, where we all voice different characters for Dream Daddy, and
nice.
It's so funny. It's just the best night of the week.
So what would you say, and I know this is a hard question for you because most gamers have this, they hate this question. What would you say your favorite video game is, and what are you currently playing? Doesn't have to be the same, or it could be.
Favorite video game all time? Spider Solitaire. No. Mahjong. Easy, hands down.
Minesweeper. Done. Playing it right now.
Minesweeper. Easy mode. Unlimited timer. I think of all time is probably like Super Mario World.
Really?
I played
like the Super NES version?
Yeah, like Super NES. Back when it first came out, and it was like it came with the console, and I remember I played it, my brothers played it, my sister even played it, and she was like, man, she's like 9 years older than me. But as kids, I was so happy that like all of us could get behind playing this one video game that brought us all together when we liked vastly different things at the time.
Right.
And even to this day, I can still pick up Super Mario World and kick its ass. Like I know so much about that, not like speed running kind of thing, but just like I just enjoy so much, so familiar with it. And you just want to hear those sounds, the music.
I love the soundtrack. I was about to say that. Yeah,
jump on Yoshi and the percussion comes in. Yeah, it's just such a solid game.
Roll when he's eating. I love that noise. It's just dopamine high from hearing it. Yeah. My wife was interviewed I interviewed her earlier this past week. I'm getting time confused now sitting in here. Speaking to the future, in the present, talking about the past. But hers was Mario N64.
Another very, very solid game.
Yep. So she's not a gamer at all, but she's like, I guess it's my favorite game because it's the only game I've ever beaten.
Yeah. That's what I like about the Mario games. It's like, especially the later ones, it's like you can absolutely beat them. The first games were a bit harder, especially when you're younger.
Right.
But all the Mario games are, they're just very much beatable and like enjoyable while you beat them.
Damn.
I don't know how people play Dark Souls. I really don't.
I don't either. They're masochists, man. They gotta be.
That's it. I'm like, I understand like wanting to get good at a game and then like trying your best and learning the timings over and over again. I understand it, but it's like I don't have the time for that, and I guess I don't have patience for it because it's just really frustrating.
No, it's beautiful. I like watching. I've watched a few friends Twitch stream it, and it's such a gorgeous game, man. But I'm watching them die like every 2 minutes and then replay the same thing over and over. Like, all right, I gotta go do something with my life. I can't keep watching this.
Yeah. That I will say that too is like I've seen a lot of people play all the Dark Soul games and Bloodborne. I've watched it, but man, I just don't know if I could do that.
I have I love going down my my PlayStation list and looking at like the games people play and their progress. And I have like one friend that has, I think he's platinum Bloodborne or he's right at it. And then all the rest of my friends are like 2%, 1%, 3%, 2%.
Yeah. You gotta be a certain kind of person to put yourself through that. Or, you're just really good at that kind of game.
Mine's in shrink wrap. It's in my retirement pile. I have that game. I have about 10 PS4 games that I bought that I knew I'd love because I listen to like things like Podcast Beyond, and I listen to actually a lot of gamer podcasts. I really enjoy video games. I just don't have time for them anymore. But I don't like that. Like I'm still subscribed to like 3 different magazines. I really love the culture. I love the storylines and things like that. And every now and then, like I'll take off work, take vacation time, like I did for Red Dead 2. I powered through it, not like speed run, but like went through the whole storyline in like 72 hours. 72 hours kind of, I guess, about a week split up because I actually went back to work and then came back that Friday after my vacation time and finished it off that weekend. So like within a week's time. It's not really 72 hours, a little longer than that. And but I don't do that often. I did that with Horizon Zero Dawn. I took like 3 or 4 days off work and just powered through it. Once I started playing, I realized I liked it. I'm like, I don't want to step away from this because if I do, I won't come back to it.
Yeah.
And so it's very rare that a game can reach out and take a hold of me like that. But I have a bunch of ones like the Doom that came out a few years ago, like in 2016 or whatever. I have that shrink wrap sitting on a shelf, Bloodborne shrink wrap sitting on a shelf. I know people like probably cringing listening to this. I really want to play them, and I'll get to it.
Especially since like Doom Eternal or whatever was just announced.
I know, I saw that. Yeah, on for E3 and all. It's like,
all right, pre-order, I guess.
Just throw that on the pile. But yeah, man, that's really cool. Side tangent on the RPG thing, and I guess if you've waded through the, I think we're like right at an hour or whatever on this, but to get to this point, we are, and I'll go into a news beat on this in the future with a lot more detail, but rough concept right now, we are actually working on a Patreon tier level that's going to be introduced after season 4. Because, I mean, I don't know if you've heard Atticus, but most of our listeners are well aware. Season 4 is our final serialized season. It ends. It's the Matthew Finnis, Eddie Viles story. It's like our Skywalker saga or whatever. It's over. It's got to, like Breaking Bad, it's got to start and it's got to end. It's written for an ending. So that's nice, isn't it? Yeah. But we're going to be moving to more of an anthology format, but within the Sirenicide universe, like be if it's, back in medieval times, if you want to go all the way back to like, dinosaur days, you're welcome to. If you want to get with us and go through the future, you're welcome to that kind of thing as a writer. We're actually going to open it up to more third-party writers and stuff. But when we first started
really
this,
I didn't know that you were doing that.
Yeah, it's we released it a couple of details like hinting towards it, but we still haven't we've let everybody know it's the final season. And the big kicker is we have to hit 96 Patreons, and it's a really or 96 Patreons, sorry, not Patreons. From on our Patreon for us to basically continue to moving in, because that basically takes care of the minimum cost of the servers and that kind of stuff, and pays for helps with the voice acting, because most of the episodes going into the future are going to be very 12-minute 16-minute episodes. Like the 30-minute episode format is going away unless we get to I think we have 447 patrons, because that's our 447's our big number. Once we hit that, we'll actually be going to weekly content. But the serialized aspect of everything is that it's done. We do have a goal. I'm not trying to sell Patreon, so I'll stop after this. But we do have a goal of 2020. If we hit 2,200 patrons, that would basically make it where I could pull David Cummings or something like that, and I'd be able to do this full time, and then we'd bring a serialized story structure back, but it wouldn't be the same story. It'd be a new story in that universe, which is, but it wouldn't be anthology, but it would be back, that kind of thing. So, but anyway, all that being said, the reason I bring all this up is when we started season 1, or before we started season 1 to world build in it, I created a tabletop game, not D&D, but D&D structured, but a tabletop RPG, like back in high school, and I just took kind of the rules that I'd written out for that and the dice rules I'd written out for that and applied them to Morston. And we set like the red suits, which are a big part of our lore, the liquid that people get in their brains and it makes them kind of go crazy. Like all the stuff that we've written, these horror stories that everybody knows now, that came from me rolling the dice and like you're hearing a voice in your head. Okay, what is it trying to tell me? Like it's just us tabletopping. And
yeah.
We're actually going to create a Patreon tier level for fans and for voice actors, things like that, to join in, and we're going to basically I've already vested some interest and things like that into like a tabletop software, which you might be a little bit more familiar with than some people, but where someone, if they join the party, they can open up a window and it'll kind of have a rough idea of what the dungeon looks like, and I'll have an apparatus mounted where if I draw like on my iPad, it would draw on your screen where you can see that kind of thing. Like not totally going in like, here's room 1, now you're walking over here, not to that point where it's that boring. It's still all about the imagination.
That's really cool though.
But the whole point of it is
the general outline of it.
Yeah, exactly. So you have a couple of little visual aids, but the main thing is up on one of your other monitors. We'll tell everybody we recommend at least a 2-screen experience, because on one of the other monitor you'll have like a Skype window or a Google Hangouts window, or something that we design where you'll have some people just want to do audio, that's fine, but like I have a webcam set up and all that to start off as as DMing them or GMing them or whatever you want to say, and we're going to start off with a few of the creative team members where they can see how it goes, and then we're going to Twitch stream it as well. That way people will be able to see it live. But that's a whole format that's coming in 2020. But I figured since we've been talking a lot about this past hour, that it's kind of a cool place to creep in that hint. But that's coming. It's basically going to be it's going to be like a Sirenicide RPG. And it's probably not even going to be called that, because it's going to take place in the same universe as Morston and Sirenicide exist in. But it's going to be a pretty fun experience. So
yeah.
Fans
Morston Chronicles.
Yeah, exactly, right? But yeah, and it helps out for people that may not even want to play, but they can watch it and they write in like, okay, what y'all were playing with today, I have an idea for that. I want to write you a short story, and then we can audio adapt that to an audio format, and it'll be an audio drama a few weeks later, that kind of thing. So we're gonna be taking the show in a different direction than just the seasonal based horror story structure we've done for the last 3 seasons, moving into our 4th. And a lot of it's got to do with schedule constraints on everybody working day jobs behind the scenes of all this, and for very minimal payment and support on it. So it's like, you're going to wake up one morning, open up your iPhone or your whatever, your Android phone, like, bloop, oh, there's a new Sirenicide episode. And it's just, instead of a mini episode this or a season this, it'll just be like, the ghost in the dark sewer or something like that. You click it and it's like, oh, this 16-minute little story, this anthology styled story, it's based in the Sirenicide universe. So that's kind of cool, that kind of thing. But anyway, more details to come, folks.
That's cool.
Yeah, man. I mean, especially as soon as you started saying, yeah, well, I've when you brought up that YouTube channel, that's why behind the scenes, everybody, I'm like, we're on Discord right now doing this. I keep sending them like just things like, oh, send me a link to that YouTube channel, because I'd love to watch that. Like, even if it's classic D&D style or just tabletop style, just to kind of, I'm studying all that right now, because when we go, like we talked about earlier, I don't want to half-ass into it. I want to give something that people want to actually do, play, and be a part of. Whether they just want to watch for free or they want to hit that special tier level to be in it and a part of it, kind of thing. But anyway, all right. So we're going to transition out of that to a heavy topic. So everybody get ready to take in the deep questions, that probing for the answers that make life. What's your favorite color? And what's something you own that proves it?
Favorite color? I would say dark blue.
Nice.
Which is just a nice dark blue, or like a royal blue, or whatever it's called. It's looking around my room right now. I own a lot of jeans. So,
You have royal blue jeans.
I mean, they're dark blue jeans, I guess.
That would be somebody get Atticus Jackson a pair of royal blue jeans, and then he's gonna have to wear them.
My Amazon wish list is just 37 different types of blue jeans that I actually have. I'll probably send you a picture of it later. So, like, I made my own fiberglass acoustic proofing, like, boards, basically.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, I bought a bunch of fiberglass, and I glued them to some, I don't know how to describe them. They're like cardboard backings for paintings, like really big paintings.
Okay.
Just to give them some, sturdiness, but also wrap them into different fabrics. And three of the, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 6 are all Star Wars themed.
Oh, shit.
And one of them is this gorgeous dark blue with the Millennium Falcon.
Oh, no, that's awesome.
That's the Millennium Falcon. It's the TIE Interceptor, I think. Or no, that's not an Interceptor. It's a TIE Fighter. It's Darth Vader's TIE Fighter, whatever that's called.
Yeah.
And X-Wing. And it is gorgeous. It is a gorgeous color. Another one's kind of dark blue gray. And it's got like little portraits of C-3PO and R2-D2 and Darth Vader and Yoda's eyes, which is really cool.
That's pretty.
And the other one is like old Star Wars comics, and then the other one is like a black and white, just portraits of the main characters. It's just very cool stuff. I love it to death.
Nice. Hey man, that's the best answer to that kind of question. I mean, it's got Star Wars in it. It backs up the legitimacy of the color you picked. I mean, that's probably, I'm not trying to insult all the other guests that have come before, but that is definitely up there with the best answer to that question so far.
I mean, it's like, I just turned around and saw it. I'm like, that is a really pretty blue. Nice. And it's also very Star Wars themed.
It's like, I got him on 2 angles. He's going to love this answer. All right, man. Okay, I'll tell you what we're going to do, folks. I know that a lot of people get stressed by length and things like that, so I'm going to ask one more time for Atticus to tell us where we can find him, and then we're going to do a part 2 to this. Now, we're going to finish up, but I just want to, I know that sometimes people if they see a long duration, they're like, no, I can't do that. I'm going to skip that one. And we don't want people to miss out on this conversation, so we're going to do an ICE episode 15 and a 15.5 or something like that. So before we continue into these awesome questions, tell the folks where they can find you one more time for us.
All right, you can find me mostly at Twitter. It's at the Atticus, and any other social media, it's just Atticus Jackson. Like Twitch, you can find me at twitch.tv/Atticus Jackson, youtube.com/Atticus Jackson. I think on Instagram I'm Atticus Jackson, and Facebook Atticus Jackson. I am rarely on it, but that's about it for that. Yeah.
Perfect. All right, guys. Well, the giveaway, I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick for this episode. So if you're interested to see if you won, stick around, and we will be right back.
For too long, the human race has been plagued by disease. Too long, we have fought against death-threatening illnesses like cancer, and have lost. My friends, the time has come. No longer will we have to worry about sickness. No longer will we have to face death while rotting in a hospital bed. Thanks to the research team here at the Laughlin Institute, we have finally found the answer to beating disease entirely, and we will be releasing it publicly soon. Thank you.
Well, isn't that something? This sounds like a miracle. This will certainly bring hope to many people.
All right, and we are back. I hope you enjoyed whatever interlude thing I ended up picking to go between this, that last part. Now time for the Patreon giveaway. Just a quick reminder, if you won the last week or the week before, you will not be able to win this week. But that being said, it's really, really good news for Scott Fompno, our winner from the Duncan episode, because he has just been thrown back in the pool. So, right now...
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Win?
What's that?
I became a patron today.
Oh, yeah, you did. So, hold on. Let me add you to a column real quick.
I want a cool book thing.
And that's just for this episode. The cool thing is you're going to be, it'll be giveaways on at the end of the second part. All right.
Oh, yes, I'm gonna drag this thing out for like 6 hours. So many giveaways.
Get my chances up there, man. All right.
All right. Well, we got stamps, I guess. We ran out of gifts because Atticus won't stop talking.
We spray painted some cup I got at a theater with a Doc sticker on it.
Y'all know what Bucky's is? We got a Bucky's cup.
We just wrote Cyrenicide on it in Sharpie so it'd be relevant.
It's autographed, I guess. I don't know.
All right. So let me see here. I had this on table format. I'm getting used to this numbers app from the Apple software, and it's garbage, but whatever. Okay, here we go. So with Atticus in the mix, that jumps us back up to 38. So there's 40 Patreons that we have on the Patreon, and 2 of them are not eligible this week. Jake Ivey, who just won on Amy's episode, and who won? Let me see. Who was that? Oh man, I feel bad now. Trying to keep all these winners in mind. Oh yeah, JP Goins. He got the T-shirt from the Adam Harris
that's
episode.
40 people. You got to remember their name. Yeah. That's all right.
Well, I wish it was 4,000. Hint, hint, listeners. All right.
Please.
Okay, so between number 138, we're gonna bust open our wiretap. Here we go. Siri, pick a number between 1 and 38.
It's 34.
All right,
wow.
34. She really likes the 30s. Sarah D. Bushyhead. Sarah D. I can't... Man, that is awesome. She is at the Seeing the Anomaly gift at work level, folks. That is a $15 level. I promise that's not why she got picked. I'll screenshot this right now if you need me to. But
we all heard it.
Yeah. She is the winner. She is number 34. I told people I might start, I got to stop turning away from the mic. I might start posting the screenshots. I just don't want people to think. I just like using the wiretap for these things. She does.
Oh, that's like rolling a nat 20.
Yeah.
And then taking a picture of it and being like, look.
Exactly. So what's funny is I got a Word file where I'm keeping the winners. And so far she has picked, I say she, I've been corrected on that before. Siri, has picked, let's see, the first episode, she picked 30 when Robert won the laptop case. And the second episode, she picked 33 when that was Scott when he won the phone case. And then she picked 20 when JP won the T-shirt. And then the most recent one, which made me feel really good, she finally picked 15, which is a lot further away from 30. Because I was starting to think, man, Siri just really likes 30, and 30 numbers are really close to them. But now she just ruined her streak with this. But I'm sure Sarah is really happy. Congratulations, Sarah. I'll be getting with you through the interwebs, and you can pick out your what design you want on your journal. And
it's when Siri picks 447 is when you're going to have real trouble.
How creepy would that be? Pick a number between 1 and 38. 447. Okay, I'm done.
I'm going to turn my phone off real quick.
Skynet. I'm done. All right, guys. Well, that does it for part 1 of Interesting with Dr. Laughlin himself, Atticus Jackson. We'll be back next episode with part 2. You guys enjoy your podcast space out there and check out some of the links that we have listed below. We'll have some new ones in the next episode. See you later.
All elements of Sirenicide are copyright 2019 by Atrium Dynamics unless otherwise stated. Any duplication of this production without the secured written consent of Atrium Dynamics is strictly prohibited. Please visit Sirenicide.com for more details.